Good Thursday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Greg Majestic back with you here in the North Georgia Majestic Studios with your weather update here on your August the 20th, 2026. Once again, a very hot, steamy day here across North Georgia, and we're waiting for the potential for some heavy thunderstorms here moving into parts of North Georgia for tonight. And it looks like the northwest Georgia areas are going to be favored for the potential for a level 2 risk for thunderstorms. We're going to give you the latest update here in just a second. Now, if you're new here to our channel and you live anywhere across North Georgia, let me introduce myself as your personal weatherman on a mission to turn this into a professional 24-hour weather channel. And I could sure use your help, and it doesn't cost you a dime. All it does require you to do is please subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're alerted on all weather updates just like this one, and also being alerted whenever we do live severe weather coverage when warranted. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's update as we are seeing lots of sunshine after some morning clouds this morning. I had some kind of decaying stuff that kind of moved through this morning, but shaped up to be a pretty nice afternoon. A lot of hot, steamy weather out here all across North Georgia. A lot of clear skies as well. So a very sunny day and very warm. I'm currently at 95 degrees here in Brazelton, so definitely a steamer out there. Looking at the radar, it is clear here for the moment across North Georgia, but we're expecting it to get a little more active, especially as we get into, say, past 8, 9 o'clock, and we're going to be looking at the northwestern zones initially here, and I'll show you the model data on that here in just a second. Looking at the radar right now, not seeing anything out there just yet, but we are expecting things to kind of get popping here as we go into later this afternoon. That's when things will begin to destabilize a little bit more here in the atmosphere. So we're going to be watching areas up here and then these storms kind of dropping down this way. So we're going to be watching Alabama and Georgia for the potential of some of that weather moving on in. So right now, satellite picture doesn't look all that bad, but I do expect we're going to see the blossoming of those higher cloud tops of the reds and yellows as those storms get fired up here in the next couple hours. Local temperatures, they're plenty hot in the low 90s down toward Atlanta right now, 90 in Adairsville, 91 up in Lafayette. So it is warm, it is steamy, it is muggy out there. And the heat advisories are mostly down to the south for today, but there is the potential, if this stuff gets cranking good enough, we might see some sort of severe thunderstorm watch to impact this area here going in for tonight. And if a watch is issued, we will do live streaming coverage here on the channel. So that's why you definitely need to make sure you subscribe. So let's take a look at the latest. This was just updated here for this afternoon here for, again, level 2 threat for severe weather there. That's that slight risk over here, and this is level 1. So we're talking about the areas up here across northwest Georgia, and the biggest threat's going to be the wind with some of these storms. That's what we're going to be looking at. So we're not talking so much big hail threat. That's off toward the west there, and tornado threat is less than 2%, so we're not worried about that. It is going to be a wind thing. So again, the areas that we're most concerned about are going to be up here across northwest Georgia. So you can see that again. We're talking about Dalton, Somerville, Cave Springs, awfully close to Cedartown, but that northwest zone is where we're kind of looking for the potential for some of that weather. Now, this will begin to move on off here for tomorrow. We'll still see some thunderstorms on Friday, but the marginal risk will shift over into the Carolinas and down towards South Georgia. And then we should see things begin to improve here for the weekend. All right, along with this, we're going to have to watch for some heavy rains. We do have that here as well, again, favoring the northwestern zones where the heaviest storms are going to be kind of riding along Tennessee, Alabama, and that Georgia line. If you're in the northeastern zones, the odds of you seeing heavy activity is probably not as high. So folks over toward Clayton and Toccoa and, heading down toward, say, the Gainesville area over to the east there, probably not going to see all that much. But we'll have to watch it closely because, it can just change a few tens of miles. That's all it takes. Now, as we go in for Friday, this heavy rain threat will shift off toward the east, and then Saturday and Sunday looking great. So the weekend's not looking bad, and also going into early next week looking pretty dry. All right, so let's go look at our latest model data here as we kind of look at this thing, kind of get things firing off here. Let me go ahead and give this a stop. I'm going to back this up here real quick. All right, so we're waiting for the stuff to kind of get fired up here as we go into the evening hours. So you notice as we get toward 5, 6 o'clock, things start to blossom up there across areas of Tennessee. So this stuff's going to be kind of dropping down this way. Okay, so we'll watch what happens here as we go on through. It kind of slides on through. It just definitely is favoring that northwest zone and Alabama zone. So that's what we're talking about here, getting up toward midnight here. So again, there's your 10 o'clock. So this is a little bit slower than the earlier model runs we're showing here. But again, it looks like a kind of a late evening here with some of these storms. So again, like I said, we're favoring the western zones where the eastern zones may not see much of anything with this as these storms develop. Now, once this moves on by, it'll settle on down at night as we lose that daytime heating. We're going to see the atmosphere cool down. And then as we go in for tomorrow, maybe a few scattered storms in here. I think the predominant rain threat will be early on Friday morning with whatever's left of those storms there. And then going into the weekend, we're not looking bad. Saturday's looking pretty decent, as well as going into your Sunday. Sunday's also looking pretty decent as well, pretty dry there. Okay, so let's take a look at the rainfall total potential in here. I'm going to go ahead and check that out real quick as we kind of go into that. We know we got a heavy rain threat in here again, obviously favoring the northwestern zone. So the northwestern zone is Dalton down to Rome. That's where the heaviest rain threats are going to be. But you notice that the eastern zone's not much showing there at all. So it's going to be the question of who gets it and who doesn't here for tonight. But we are clearly favoring basically Georgia 400 and heading back over toward the west. That's what I was telling y'all yesterday, and I'm basically staying with that right now. I see no reason to change that. All right, so here's our forecast map. So we go and put this through the next couple of days. Front coming on through, and we got a couple of these coming on through. In fact, so what this is going to do, folks, which is going to be good, we're going to get some drier air as this pretty good trough is going to dig in here, like right through here. So we're going to be kind of digging this down in here. So what that's going to mean is some dry air kind of slowly filtering in through Saturday and Sunday. That's going to set up for some very refreshing temperatures on Monday. I think we'll see some 50s up in the mountains and some low 60s. Pretty comfortable weather, although the daytime highs will still be a bit on the warm side. We're going to get a nice little break, at least, as far as morning lows as we go into early next week. But that's only going to be temporary, okay? Now, as we take a look at the forecast here for tomorrow, 50% chance of a few thunderstorms. Again, I think predominantly this might be during the morning hours, whatever's left of those storms. Might see a few in the afternoon. 92.73 there in the Gainesville area. Pretty muggy day, to say the least. And then morning lows here, pretty mild, mostly here in the 70s, a few 60s up in the mountains, and then your afternoon highs here as we go into the afternoon. Again, favoring some 90s up there and some 80s up in the mountains. But again, we're still going to be a bit muggy on Friday. It's going to be later into Saturday and Sunday with that lower dew point, lower humidity starts to make its presence felt here across our area. Regionally looking like this. Again, you can see where the scattered storms are kind of flaring up in here, cooling the temperatures down there. But you see 92 there in Atlanta, 96 over in Greenwood, 102 in Jackson, still very balmy out there, Mississippi, and over toward Arkansas. Now that heat dome should begin to shift off toward the west as we go here into early next week. All right, next 7 days, here we go, as we got that rain threat for you Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday's looking pretty good. And then we'll see the rain threat come back at us here as we go into next week. But look at those overnight lows Sunday morning, Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Gainesville in the upper 60s. So a lot of North Georgia, I think, is going to be fairly comfortable, at least during the morning hours, because of that drier air moving on in. Very similar to what we saw just a couple days ago, but this is even a little bit drier. So that's why I said we might see a few 50s up there in some of the mountains as we go into early next week. All right, now with the threat of thunderstorms around, I have a free gift for you. It doesn't cost you a dime. If you'd like to have this, absolutely free. I picked up the tab on this. You can go to Google Play if you're an Android user, or you can go to the Apple Store and put in North Georgia Majestic Weather. Download this great weather app. It's a great. It's going to alert you when the rain's approaching your exact location, lightning detection, hail. Obviously, severe weather alerts, hour-by-hour forecast, a future cast on the radar, satellite, power outage map. It's a great app. Go and download this. Brought to you by our app sponsor, Roof It Forward out of Woodstock, Georgia. They're one of the premier, best roofing companies in North Georgia, and you know what? They give a portion of every job back to local children's charities, some $600,000 here locally in Georgia, and we do thank them for being our local weather app sponsor. All right, that's y'all's update here for tonight. Again, if a watch is issued, and even if hopefully it doesn't go too late, but we will do some live severe weather coverage, and hopefully I don't think it'll be anything too serious, but we're kind of right on the edge there. Alabama's definitely looking a little more robust, but part of the western counties might get clipped here a little bit with the weather. So do yourself a favor, go and hit that subscribe button, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're alerted on all future weather updates and get those alerts when we do live. All right, that'll do it for today. Y'all be good, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. I'll get you guys ready for the weekend. Till then, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.